Situation in Israel right now is becoming dire. Just last night, violence broke out once again near Damascus Gate Plaza, that's in Jerusalem, where police shot and killed a man armed with a knife. Earlier in the day, a 72-year-old woman was stabbed at a bus stop. Over the weekend, Israeli police killed 2 Palestinians who stabbed police officers and other civilians. Although Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered for police reinforcements in Jerusalem, violent, random attacks are becoming the norm. Joining us now from Jerusalem is friend to the Daily Wrap, editor of the WisdomDaily.com and Washington Post contributor, Brad Hirschfield. Brad, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Happy to be with you, Joe.
So earlier in the day, State Department spokesman John Kirby said, and these are his words, concerned about reports that could indicate the potential use of excessive force. If somebody's running at you with a knife and you're a police officer in Israel, what else are they supposed to do?
I have the foggiest idea. I don't use this language lightly, but I think some of the comments that have been made by Kirby and by Secretary of State Kerry, creating a kind of moral equivalence here, is really nothing less than obscene. The fact of the matter is that stabbings, shootings, bus hijackings, and using cars as weapons, ramming them into people simply waiting for a bus. And I want to be clear, not there's any difference, but not only soldiers and military personnel. Many more civilians have been stabbed, more civilians have been killed. This kind of language is nuts. It's not that I'm saying there aren't things that Israel can and should do better and Israel is blameless all the time. I don't believe that. I don't think it's the case. But what's going on now is terror straight out. And in the words of one 13-year-old terrorist, 13 years old, who went looking to stab when the police interviewed him as he was being treated and cared for in an Israeli hospital, he said, it's simple. We were going out to stab Jews.
Brad, it's Rick. You know, this is one time where you and I are clearly going to agree. I've seen the videos. There's no question here whatsoever who's causing this problem and the fact that the Israeli folks are just trying to defend themselves. My question for you is this. What is the tone, what is the tenor of what we're seeing on the streets? Are people taking special precautions to protect themselves? What's life like in Israel today?
Look, Israelis are very good at keeping on. I will tell you in all candor, as it's already midnight here for me, that I'm with a group and I walked them back from a restaurant a few blocks from our hotel. And it requires a certain situational awareness, and I feel a certain obligation for their safety. They're a group of Americans visiting here, but they were willing to come and they were feeling good. On the other hand, I can tell you that in general, Thursday nights, which is a big night out in the streets of Jerusalem, it was relatively quiet. And that means that people are feeling spooked. There's definitely tension. What there isn't is hostility to Arabs in general. What there isn't are the kind of racist responses that could easily happen when there's racist terrorism. So I think that people are trying to balance appropriate vigilance without letting rage or anger take over, because the truth is it doesn't help, it only hurts, and it really isn't the general response of Israelis.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Brad. I kind of noticed watching Prime Minister Netanyahu speak on this today, I found him to be unusually measured. I don't want to say casual because that doesn't state it fairly, but he just seemed to be behaving in a way where he was trying to calm it down instead of amp it up, which I thought was terrific. I think a boss is trying to amp it up. So it's very good to hear you say.
I think you're absolutely right, Rick. I think in the first days, by the way, that was a little less true, and I was a little bit concerned. But I think really here, right, left, and center understand that care and vigilance are the appropriate responses, that where need be, when deadly force and terror is used, you need to position the appropriate security forces and deal with that. In fact, even since the report that Joe gave, because it is the later part of the day here, there was another attempt to stab 2 people outside of Damascus Gate at the northeast corner of the old city of Jerusalem. The terrorist was neutralized, but again, no one is chanting and excited about that. That's a necessity. The easiest way to help Palestinians not to be shot by security forces right now is don't have them run at people and try and stab them in the head, which has been sort of de rigueur here for the last 2 weeks.
WisdomDaily.com editor, Washington Post contributor Brad Hirschfield, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. Good to talk to you all, as always.
Sure.
Take care, Brad.
All right, so we don't have too much time here, but how does this all end?
You know, what I find particularly concerning this time around is the approach that Abbas has taken to this. It's like he's given up, thrown his hands in the air, and he's just accusing Israel of stuff that is so silly, because it's not what's happening. We've got the video proof. It's these Palestinian kids that have run amok. He's got to knock it off, or he's going to make for a much worse situation than it already is.
Absolutely. Nomi, would love to get your thoughts on it, but unfortunately we're out of time. Fortunately, you're here for the rest of the show,
Yes.
so we'll have some fun. So, what do you make of the violence in Israel right now? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments right below. Coming up, former Speaker of the House Denny Hastert is prepared to plead guilty in court. We have the details. Don't go anywhere.